Welcome everyone to today's workbook discussion on Zoom. Welcome also to all who join us later by watching or listening to this recording. I'm Laura Fenimore, the Chief Development Officer and Volunteer Coordinator with the Foundation for Inner Peace, the scribe authorized publisher of A Course in Miracles. We really appreciate your partnership with the Foundation. And if you want to learn more about the Foundation or A Course in Miracles, please visit acim.org. If you feel inspired to make a love offering, please visit acim.org, and at the top of the page, you will find the word donate. All donations support the work of the Foundation. Each session will be delving into a discussion of the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles, led by a moderator team of volunteers that work with the Foundation. What does discussion mean? In our gatherings here, we welcome the Holy Spirit to join us. Through this presence, our meeting becomes a joining of equals to commune with the Holy Spirit's guidance to experience miracles together. Some of the moderators here also support our social media channels, and if you'd like a list of FIP resources, please email support@acim.org, and we'll be happy to share the resource list with you. Now let's begin our discussion.
Okay, wonderful. Welcome, everybody. My name is Manu, and I am a volunteer for the Foundation for Inner Peace, and we are discussing the workbook lessons on an ongoing basis from A Course in Miracles. So let's take a couple moments. If you'd like, gently close our eyes and consider for a moment a canvas that would become a painting. And the canvas has, let's say, a white background on which colors are thrown and gathered and made beautiful to design and create a painting of some sort. The white background is the foundation, so to speak, of that painting. Similarly, our source and our background is the very peace that we always have access to. In fact, not just the fact that we have access to it, we are that peace. And when we say, let's find ourselves in this moment, in this very now, we don't just find ourselves in this moment, we are the now, just like the canvas in a painting. So let's become that now. Let's find ourselves as that very source background of all that is, and become the peace that we already are. Let's gently open our eyes back and find ourselves in this multidimensional, dynamic, ever-changing painting of God. Let's smile, let's smile at each other in this total delight of finding our brothers and sisters in front of us in the form that we are now experiencing. The lesson that we are focused on for today is called The Light Has Come. And I'm going to share this lesson with us. We had last time just read through and discussed the first 3 paragraphs. So what I'd like to do is, Jack, if you're willing, would you kind of read the first 3 paragraphs for us to launch us into this discussion today?
Sure. All right. The light has come. You are healed and you can heal. The light has come. You are saved, and you can save. You are at peace, and you bring peace with you wherever you go. Darkness and turmoil and death have disappeared. The light has come. Today we celebrate the happy ending to your long dream of disaster. There are no dark dreams now. The light has come. Today, the time of light begins for you and everyone. It is a new era in which a new world is born. The old one has left no trace upon it in its passing. Today we see a different world because the light has come. Our exercises for today will be happy ones, in which we offer thanks for the passing of the old and the beginning of the new. No shadows from the past remain to darken our sight and hide the world forgiveness offers us. Today, we will accept the new world as what we want to see. We will be given what we desire. We will to see the light. The light has come.
That's beautiful, Jack. I'd like to ask you to give us a couple sentences and or your interpretation of what we just read. What does it really mean in your view for the light to have come?
Shining. I've always loved the sun as a material representation of this, and I've always appreciated it as a metaphor because it shines so freely. You know, the sun doesn't ask anything of me, and the idea that the light has come is it feels for me it's kind of like reminding myself that the sun is shining, and all I need to do is put myself in the position to receive it. And there's not really a way for me to get away from it. Even if I'm inside, the light still comes through the windows and still gets to me. But it's my choice if I want to go outside and really open to it. And the understanding that the light has come, for me, just means that it's here for me, always available. If I've got the willingness to open to it.
Thank you so much, Jack. That's just beautiful. Sharon?
Yeah, and what it says for me is that because I think it says in the course that light is information. And so this says to me that we have all the information that we need at this point, and it's all here for us. And it is light. Thank you.
Thank you. Rich, please go ahead.
The light has come. I'm definitely 3-4. We will be given what we desire. The only thing I desire is the will of God in my life. There's plenty of sentences about that in the book. And the way these 3 paragraphs start off, you are healed. You are at peace, and you bring peace with you. What's that mean? It means that I'm wholly joyous, conflict free, deep sense of peace, no conflicts of thought. That's what it means. Am I that? Am I that? If I am that, then I am healed and I am bringing peace with me. And that for me is what the book is talking about when it starts to go into, a new world is born. We see a different world. Says again, accept the new world. So this is not about the physical world as an illusion. It's not. It's just not. It's a new world of real joy, real peace.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Andrew, you're up next.
Thank you. To me, the light has come means that we are awakening to our true nature. We are the light. We're just unaware of it most of the time. The light has come is us realizing our true nature. That's what it means to me. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Stay unmuted, Andrew, and please read us paragraph number 4 in this lesson 75.
Our longer practice periods will be devoted to looking at the world that our forgiveness shows us. This is what we want to see, and only this. Our single purpose makes our goal inevitable. Today, the real world rises before us, in gladness to be seen at last. Sight is given us, now that the light has come.
I want to say a little bit more about what we just read.
Sight is given us. I think that the sight that's given us is the inner peace that we feel when we connect with our source, when we connect with God and each other.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, when I first read the course, I was often confused about the different ways that the same concept was being shared with us. Light, oneness, peace, God, Holy Spirit. At least for me, it's really, the way I understand it now, it's the same. They're just different ways of explaining what that oneness is, that we are, and what the light is. Any other thoughts, Peter?
Yeah, I would just add, it just occurred to me that what is the darkness? The light is displacing the darkness. So the darkness for me is fear and judgment and conflict and separation and unhappiness, scarcity, lack. So if the light is the opposite, then the light is all the opposite of that. So it's peace and joy and oneness and connection and abundance and all that good stuff. And then the other thing that comes to mind is just the concept that, it's illumination or enlightenment. It's like it's being revealed. The world, the truth is being illuminated and revealed to us through our own presence in the Holy Spirit. That's what I got. Thank you.
Yeah. In the world of duality, which is what we are experiencing, it certainly makes sense for these two things, the two systems of thought as well, which are kind of seemingly in opposition to each other. Rich?
I'll go for that word forgiveness. ACIM, maybe more than any other idea or word, it puts the most emphasis on whatever forgiveness is exactly. And there's a ton of sentences in the book about it. So, at the same time, the past doesn't exist. Don't look at the past. However, look at your ego. There's so many sentences about the entire subject, real forgiveness. In general, forgiveness. The book won't say much about personal habits. Like any sentence that sort of talks about personal habits, it's more of a interpretation of what that sentence means in terms of what someone believes is sinless, pure, and holy for themselves. So that, as far as guiding personal behavior. But all these things are, they all have something to do with real spiritual growth. So forgiveness, intentional decision to let go of resentment, anger, Stop feeling angry, resentful towards anyone, including yourself, God, or anyone or anything for any offense, flaw, or mistake. So, I mean, the book says pretty much outright here and there that, forgiveness, real forgiveness will bring real enlightenment, whatever that is, like that the book pretty much says that straight out. So I don't know. I'm just making a statement about it and finding a deep, deep sense of forgiveness in terms of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Rich,
Thank you, Rich.
sorry, Rich, I thought you might say something like what you were alluding to last week regarding the separate identities in outside of the corporeal plane, like Jesus, you mentioned, was a separate identity. You mentioned something like that. And I thought that this might be a good time when we were just mentioning that God, Jah, Allah, Buddha, Muhammad, everyone is one. This is one thing. This is yeah. So I would like you to talk on that, Rich, a little bit, just a quick one, because you did mention it before, and I'm interested.
Well, thank you, Bill. I'll just say that the book says Jesus of Nazareth is in charge of the brotherhood. I mean, to me, that means that Jesus of Nazareth has an identity as Jesus of Nazareth in the afterlife. Somehow he knows of himself as a personal being, and he's in charge of the brotherhood. I mean, there's a lot of ideas about it.
Yeah, and he's probably the only one that's real out of every other identity. I would say if he does have a separate identity, his is the only one that's real, because there is only the Son, the Father, and the HS.
Now, the book also mentions angels.
Right, I know. So
Yeah. Maybe we'll discuss more of that a little bit later as this comes up. Thanks for asking that question, Bill. And I was also going to bring it up because you shared it in chat. So that's definitely a great place to start asking a question, and be happy to bring that up as appropriate. Okay, let's, while we were on that same specific conversation, Megan, did you want to add something to that?
I'm sorry, I was going to talk about the light has come. Is this the same?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly that. Thank you.
All right. So for me, I had something sort of incredible happen over the past week when, so the light has come to me is revelation about how I've been seeing the world. And I had been in a lot of pain recently and doing all I could, all the ego could, to figure out how to manage it and quell it. And something struck me, which was that this is a little bit of a story, but I used to wash my dog and I used to take her in the shower with me, and I found out the shower is too hot for the dog. She's tiny. So then I did better, but still I was torturing the dog every time I bathed her. And I realized the dog is me, and I'm treating the dog like I was treated as a child, or felt like I was treated. And so I realized, since the dog is me and I would like to be loved, I'm going to treat the dog as I would like to be treated. So I did everything I could to make this bath the most incredibly luxurious, the least scared. I put the heater in the bathroom and shut the door so she was warm, and then I dried her all the way, whereas used to just get her dry enough and then stick her under a heat lamp and still torture. But after this, I realized that everybody was me. So I started talking to my roommate more, because we both isolate. And I thought, we're in the same house and we're isolating in our room. So I thought I will talk to her. And then I just started realizing that daily, as things come up in my mind, this is part of the revelation that the Course keeps saying, give it over to God, lay it at his feet. It is not a burden you need to carry. So every time I felt a twinge of pain, I started saying, I have willingness. I have all the willingness that I can get. I have it now. I don't know what anything is for. And then I would start doing breathing exercises, but eventually the pain started going away. And the only reason I'm in Pennsylvania right now with my sisters is because I was able, like, maybe 2 weeks ago, I would not have, I was questioning whether I could come, but I could actually come because doing this every time any thought came up that was negative or challenging or judgmental in any way, I started giving it over immediately to God. And while I've been doing it a lot here in this place, it's still keeping me going. So I think for me, the light has come means that in my personal life, I've recognized all that the Course keeps trying to teach me. I finally started to embody the lessons of the Course rather than read the lessons of the Course. I'm starting to feel them and interpret them to the point where I'm no longer in constant physical pain that stops me from doing things. But each time anything comes up that is at least disturbing, I'm facing it directly and kindly through the Course. So I really appreciate you. Thank you for letting me speak there.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I did have a few thoughts that dropped into my being as you spoke. One was, as you talked about your the bathing experience that you gave to your little doggy. I somehow thought of Jesus washing the feet of his disciples and of other people. And then I also further imagined the water being really warm and luxurious, and just that whole experience of uh, finding humility in serving others who are really us. And then the other thought that came up as you continued speaking, Megan, was light. The light has come, and to me, given what you said, it suddenly said, love has come. And you talked about embodying it. So again, it's really the same thing. And before we go to Sharon, Lizette, we will address your question, which Johanna also took a quick response to on the chat. So we'll come to that shortly. Sharon, and then Maggie.
Oh, I just wanted to insert something. I know I have an issue with the Bible because I was raised on it. I was raised on the hellfire and damnation, and so I don't really care for the Bible at all. I was delighted to find the Course and find the Jesus that I believe in who was alive and well. So I looked it up, and Rich, there is nowhere in the Course that it says the term Jesus of Nazareth. So I just wanted to let you know that that's not in the Course.
Yeah, Sharon, interestingly, I also looked it up, and then what thoughts came to my mind about that was that Rich is referring to Jesus as he knows him based on some other texts as well. So it's not that the Course, I'm speaking for Rich, so Rich,
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that the Course mentions Jesus of Nazareth, but the fact is that the Course does say that it is the historical Jesus that is
Oh,
speaking
yes.
to Helen.
Yes, I believe that. Absolutely.
So let me hand the mic over to Rich first to respond further to Sharon, and we'll go to Maggie and Megan.
I don't really have a response for that per se. I'm looking at something else, so I'll just wait.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Maggie.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And Manu, you mentioned that there was a question in the chat, and that's actually, I raised my hand to respond to that and bring that into the greater conversation here. In the chat, it says, what to do? The light has come, but a friend of mine is suffering because she is always in pain. It says we can heal, and I really want to heal her. Anybody having ideas about this? And Johanna did respond to this. I'm going to read this here too, just to acknowledge this, because this is helpful. I think the Course would say, ask the Holy Spirit what he would have you say or do. We of our own small selves have no clue what would be helpful. And I appreciated that from Johanna. I agree with that sentiment. And I raised my hand because I could relate to this question. I think probably everyone can. And both in experiencing my own physical pain or seeing pain in a brother, seeing pain in another person. And I know that the Course teaches us that healing is always of the mind, but it can be so challenging to experience pain and not feel like something is wrong. That's my experience with it, certainly. I was just having an experience yesterday of pretty extreme pain, and I was doing, I believe, what the Course teaches us to do with that, which was to actually just look at what was happening in my mind in reaction to the physical pain. The physical pain is its own projection, but I feel able to really work with what's happening in my thoughts that seem to be in reaction to the pain. And what was going on in my mind was a lot of thinking along the lines of something is wrong and this is scary and bad and I don't know what to do. I need to figure it out and I'm all alone. This is something I've tried to pursue help. I've gone to the doctor. I'm not opposed to doing that, and I haven't found any magic that has been helpful. So part of the thinking for me then is that I'm alone and it's hopeless and there's nothing to be done and I just have to suffer in this silently by myself. And so this sense of being all by myself. And as I let myself sit with those thoughts and acknowledge that all of these thoughts, I recognize intellectually to not be true, given what the Course has taught me, but boy, does it really feel pretty real right now. In an effort to not be denying that experience. So I think you can do this with the friend pain as well, seeing it in another. Is like we don't have to deny that someone seems to be suffering, someone seems to be struggling. And looking right at, well, what is this? What's happening in my mind in reaction to that? What's happening in my mind as I seem to be witnessing that is what I really put my focus on to. And I did have an experience of it shifting, actually. It was a moment where pain actually lifted. I had a lot of really lovely, right-minded thoughts come in. I mean, I literally said to a couple friends, the light has come. I went out and I was sitting in the sun, and if it was one of those types of moments for myself. But I will be very real and acknowledge that a few hours later, the pain came back in. So to me, I don't believe that we're working towards healing the body. And I believe that having the focus on healing the mind is what we're directed to do, and that you can do this and still be kind in responding to whoever's pain you are seeing occurring. So I wouldn't say to the friend, this isn't real, and just try to deny their experience. But like Johanna said so beautifully, if there's anything to do actually inform, if there is something to say to the friend or something that you could do to be helpful, that's going to come through first looking at the mind and working with forgiveness anyway. And so I think that that's the place to really put the focus. In the paragraph that we were just reading, paragraph 4, the first sentence says that our longer practice periods will be devoted to looking at the world that our forgiveness shows us. So it's through forgiveness that the light has come. And second sentence, this is what we want to see, only this. Our single purpose makes our goal inevitable. So I think if the single purpose, if you're only focused on forgiveness, that's where something helpful is going to come through. So that's just a little bit from my own experience just yesterday, but also I think speaking to that question. And I just really appreciate the posing of the question, because I know it's a tough area. I still practice with it often.
Thank you so much, Maggie. In a moment, either you or I can also read Bill's response, which was pretty much along the lines of what you said. And I was reminded of the being truly helpful prayer, which I'm going to just read because it does reference healing as well. So maybe, Lizette, this is how we can consider showing up. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. And then finally, I will be healed as I let him teach me how to heal. At the end of the day, as we know, we don't do anything. And that's what the aphorism, I need do nothing, means. Everything is done through us. And the reason I don't do anything or you don't do anything is because we are very temporary, apparent creations in this world of illusions. And so, Maggie, if you will please read Bill's response to the same question.
Yes. So Bill said, and although it is obvious that she is sick, we know, and that's all in capitalized letters, we know she cannot be, and we are only witnessing an illusion. So have compassion for her pain, but acknowledge it as what it is, an illusion to get us to believe there is pain and that this individual body idea is real. And exactly as Johanna is all we can do. All we can do is like what Johanna had said in her response. I love that. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Back to you, Rich.
Alrighty. I don't know, topics. But I'm gonna just go with two topics that have occurred to me in the discussion so far. Just that and I want to say, like this is important as far as what are words? Words. Let us not forget, however, that words are but symbols of symbols. They are twice removed from reality. As symbols, words have quite specific references, even when they seem most abstract. The picture that comes to mind is apt to be very concrete, unless a specific referent does occur to the mind in conjunction with the word. The word has little or no practical meaning and thus cannot help the healing process. So, I mean, words. That's a statement about words. So, I mean, along those lines, understanding, using words, then, in this book, there's a lot of sentences. And many times the book refers to the sons of God, SONS of God. Here's a good one. Let us not be deceived today. We are the capital S sons, plural, of God. There is no fear in us, for we are each a part of capital L, love itself. That would be part of God himself. That would be the idea behind the words. There's also plenty of sentences, and there's more sentences in the book about the singular capital S son, the capital O oneness and such. Yes, there is, like here's one. The ego always attacks the capital S son of God, and the capital S son of God is you. The capital S son of God is you. Does that mean nothing exists and that there's just God and even God's imaginary and the son's imaginary and everything's imaginary? Is that what it means? No, it's not what it means, but you can read it that way. I mean, as far as Jesus, I say Jesus of Nazareth because that was his name. His name is not Jesus Christ. Christ is a name that stands for our perfect capital S self, holy, joyous, conflict-free, deep sense of peace. That's our Christ self. So Jesus, and we got this other great sentence in the book. What's it mean? The name of Jesus is the name of one who was a man. He was a man, okay, but saw the face of Christ in all his brothers and remembered God. So far, so good. He was a man alive about 2,000 years ago. So the man was an illusion. Oh no, here we go again. The man was an illusion, where he seemed to be a separate being walking. Well, okay, wait a minute. Let me look up this word illusion. Illusion, a thing that is or is like. So if you actually know the real definition of words, like just because it says illusion doesn't mean he didn't live a life or whatever, that he didn't exist or doesn't exist. That's not what the word illusion means. The word illusion means this: a thing that is or is likely to be wrongly perceived or interpreted by the senses. Well, it's a real truth that Jesus was wrongly perceived and misinterpreted by the senses, by everyone who was viewing him at the time as a man walking the earth. Yeah, absolutely. He was an illusion in that sense. I mean, you can't make up your own definitions for these words and think you know what they're saying because you're not even looking in the dictionary about what the actual word means.
Thank you. Thank you, Rich. Yeah, what that says to me is, yeah, there's, I won't say anything more. That I don't have anything to say, actually. Megan, thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, so part of what Maggie was saying and the revelation part was as a person who studied psychology, I always thought I needed to understand things to forgive them or to understand things to get past them. And part of me reading the Course in Miracles has gotten so very intellectual and so into the words. I started realizing I don't want to memorize the book. I want to absorb the book. And for myself, I realized that, well, I'll start with what Maggie was talking about. When there's a friend who's in pain, what does it say? It's a particularly unworthy of you to spend energy trying to tell somebody else that their reality is not real for them. But what you can do is spend time with them. And the other part is that I kept judging. It's sort of a judging of yourself that I can't fix this person, therefore there's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with my relationship with them. When you really see that you can hold and forgive yourself, and in doing so, be in their presence, just as a supportive part of energy of God's flow, and ask them, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Rather than, and also, as Maggie was saying, when you stop judging yourself and how you're going to act towards this person who's in pain, you do allow for God to give you the words. And then sometimes you say words, then whatever you say, you have to say, I'm not going to judge that either, because whatever was said that was through God is what God wanted to be said, even if it sounds awful or negative. But it seems like whatever we say is what people not necessarily need, but use. So I don't think there's any situation where we say things and people don't use what we say to their, it's up to us to use it to our advantage. So it's up to them to use it to their advantage. But with a sick person, somebody who's really in pain, I can understand really feeling very pressed to not mess up, to not mess up as a friend. And then it gets into the self-judging thing. So for me, I realized that every time I was in pain, I went through this whole ego mess of, what does it actually mean? What does the Course say it means? How then should I apply the Course? And then what drug should I take? I was so invested in the ego's view of the pain that I kept forgetting, just keep asking, just keep, there's nothing, no harm in it. All the other things are not working. I've done it for, 60 years, well, or at least 55 of the years of my life. I've done my own ego thing, and it hasn't helped that much. Or what it has helped. But the things that the Course says that can help is to let go of the burden of the belief that your ego is somehow attached to it. So when sometimes people, when you say I'm in pain, people will get excerpts of the Course that basically tell you shouldn't be in pain, otherwise you're not doing the Course right. And I keep saying, please stop telling people to judge themselves for being in pain. That's not healthy. That's not happy. I mean, that's not what the Course wants you to do. It wants to give you a perspective of pain, but it's not for you to slam other people and say your pain is because of you, or it's not real, or you're an illusion. So I keep telling people, be kind, like you would like them to be to you. Be kind to them in not making their pain real, but also understanding that their pain is just as real as your pain when you're in it. And they will have to find their way just as you find your way. So for me, I just kept saying, I've done so many things. I'll just keep following the thing. So like for the past, 4 days, every time I find any pain, I do deep breathing, and then I forgive myself. And then I say, I don't know what anything is for. And then I say, I have ultimate willingness to give God all my grievances, all my fears, all the pain, anything, because I don't know what I am doing. Literally, I will take anything from God. And so whether it works or not, I no longer judge myself about that ritual, now I feel like I'm very supported in the one ritual. There's no negative part of that. There's no thing that I can say, I'm judging myself, but the deep breathing and the prayer really helps. It's a sort of a meditation. So thanks very much.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Megan. It's all comes back to forgiveness. And Rich had mentioned that before. There's many different ways of thinking about it. And what you underscored is, I think, letting go of the constant thoughts which are ego driven about, what's going on, what do I have to do with this? Forgive myself, forgive everyone, let go, hand it over, etc. Maggie.
Can I say one more thing, which is that I just realized
yes, if
okay.
if you can keep it brief and we go back to Maggie. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that I just, this sort of higher thing came in and said that you now I'm starting to lose it, but the idea was that you don't need to know anything to forgive it and let it go. You don't need to define it. You don't need to know it. You don't need to know their situation. All you need to do is love. And that's where I made the revelation, was that you don't have to know anything, because you don't know anything anyway. But my revelation was, you don't need to know anything. Thanks.
Yes, I think I totally get that. We don't need to understand anything in any kind of a deep or shallow manner to truly get it, to then be able to forgive it. Thank you. Thank you. Maggie?
Yes, thank you, Megan. I raised my hand actually while Rich was talking, and I had a thought come into mind listening to him, and now I feel I've had several come into mind. So we'll see what comes out of my mouth at this point. But Rich, listening to the kind of like the reading of the course, what came into my mind is the reading of the course, if we're trying to read it like an instruction manual in which it is completely consistent in the use of its own terms, that you can make yourself crazy trying to read it that way. There's a lot of clarity that the words from the course can bring into experience, I find, but I find that that is more true for me the less of a grip I'm trying to have on the words and definitions and what about this sentence and how does this work with this sentence. Ken Wapnick was a very influential teacher to me in my first several years studying the course, and he was known for pointing this out and pointing out to people that you can make yourself crazy trying to read it like that. The course really directs us to an experience, and as long as you are getting that experience, it's really the words are only as useful as getting you there, basically. So I hear Megan saying that. So as I raised my hand while Rich was speaking, Megan then spoke before me and said some things here. And she said something, actually, Jack put it right in the chat so I can remember it exactly. She said, I don't need to memorize the book. I need to absorb the book. And I really appreciated that. This is my experience with the course as well. I really take it as something much more experiential than something to be, I guess you've heard me say in this group before, I believe, that I don't consider myself like a course scholar, but it's very much an experience, and I find it useful for that reason. The other thing that had come into my mind then while listening to Megan again is just, I appreciate, Megan, you saying, don't tell someone in pain that they're doing the course wrong because they shouldn't feel pain. I resonate with that so strongly. And this is another thing that makes me think of Ken Wapnick. He would talk about course students being really weird and mean sometimes. Like, don't be like that. He would say, just be normal. Like if someone's in the hospital, don't come in and tell them you're not real. The body's not real. You shouldn't be here. It's not the most helpful thing to do. But what it brought into my mind again is this experience when I practice with my own experience of pain. It's so tempting. It really is tempting to think something is wrong. I'm doing something wrong. Why do I feel this way? This shouldn't be happening. It just really is effective in bringing that insanity up to the surface for me. But one of the sentences that has been shared with me recently by a friend that I keep thinking of is from the text chapter 2, where it says that discomfort is aroused only to bring the need for correction into awareness. And so when I am experiencing pain, whether it's my own physical pain, emotional pain, seeing someone else's pain and feeling discomfort because I'm seeing their pain, whatever the discomfort comes up as, it's not an indication that you are doing something wrong. It's actually just letting you know, here's the next place, here's the next thought, belief, whatever it is coming up to be let go of. And no, we don't need to analyze, and we don't need to necessarily be able to reference 16 different course quotations that go along with this thing in this moment right now. Again, if you really do understand the forgiveness, it's that simple as to just operate with everything coming into the mind in that way. And I think that there's lots of beautiful sentences that still absolutely support my practice as I continue to do that. And I just don't let myself get too hung up on ones that seem like they're maybe contradictory or that aren't speaking to me in the moment. But that's all I wanted to share right now.
Thank you, Maggie. Why don't, before we do any more talking, I'd like to invite everybody back to some stillness and experiencing the peace. Maybe deepen our breathing a little bit and just relax into what's actually happening right now. With this centering, Rich, what would you like to share with us?
I mean, for me, what I'm thinking about is, you will not be hurled into real enlightenment. Like that's just not how it works. Everyone has to go at their own pace. What you understand, you understand. It's not a big deal. If you're wrong, maybe not. Move on. Grow as a being. I mean, all these things are true. I mean, I'm not denying that whatsoever. I'm saying it out. I'm saying it. I mean, um, I'm just, but just this morning, I read a sentence in the book that applies to what's being talked about, and I mean, for me, the goal, regardless of the time you take to get there, right in the introduction, right, the time you take to get to real Jesus-like God consciousness is up to you. You can go a little slower, a little faster, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, whatever, in terms of ego, doubt, or strength of mind, or et cetera, et cetera. Reincarnation comes into play here. I mean, there's a lot of things about all of this that we're talking about. But I just came across this sentence this morning, and so I'll go for a thought about the whole thing that's being discussed. This sentence right here. There's about 11 sentences maybe with the word clarity. So I heard clarity. So clarity undoes confusion by definition, and to look upon darkness through light must dispel confusion. Now clarity, I'm enjoying looking up words because I think it's very helpful for me to actually look up these words and get more of an understanding of what that word really means rather than what I think it means. Like, and just move on from that word. So, clarity, strong dictionary definition, the quality of being coherent and intelligible, coherent, logical and consistent, intelligible, able to be understood, comprehensible. I mean, all those words sound pretty good to me as far as living, learning, and growing towards this holy, joyous, conflict-free way of being. So another sentence I see about clarity, there's quite a few, but it says here, leave what you would communicate to capital H him. I assume that's referring to Holy Spirit or God himself, but he will interpret it to you with perfect clarity, for he knows with whom you are in perfect communication.
Thank you, Rich. In the text, chapter 5, there's a sentence also that says, the voice. This is a very interesting and beautiful use of words. The voice for God is always quiet because it speaks of peace. The voice is quiet because it speaks of peace. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for sharing all what we have shared. And before we wrap up this hour, maybe we'll take a glance at 75.5. Let me share that. We may not have time to discuss it, or maybe there is no discussion necessary. I'll take this opportunity to read it with us. We do not want to see the ego's shadow on the world today. We see the light, and in it we see heaven's reflection lie across the world. Begin the longer practice periods by telling yourself the glad tidings of your release. The light has come. I have forgiven the world. This also references what the lessons, in terms of really what the lessons are trying to tell us. Also goes back to what we all enjoyed Megan sharing in terms of, we're here to practice the course, we're here to absorb the course, not just read it. And if we remember some of these lessons, it's really talking about some of a longer practice where we are asked to, sit and be with the presence, be with God, be with the light, be with the peace, and just be. Let's revel in this beautiful piece, the canvas on which this quote unquote illusory world seems to be dancing in all its color and beauty. I think what this is my interpretation, what God did with our action when we remembered not to laugh and we kind of found ourselves here right now. God said, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's make lemonade out of this lemon that seems to be appearing." And so this dance of light and color is with the Holy Spirit reinterpreting what we thought we were doing, is creating this beautiful collage of brothers and sisters that we see in front of us. And that's the glad tiding. The light has come because I have forgiven the world. Might be a great place to call this an hour. Thank you, Johanna.